Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to my first ever video on this channel. We're gonna be doing like a, not really in-depth, but kind of my first impressions and like my thoughts about The Witcher Season 1, episodes 1 through 8. I'm just gonna go through all the general points of the series. So the first time watching this show, I had no background knowledge of The Witcher at all. I never played the games. The only time I really saw it was like seeing the cover of the game and just videos in general about like computer specs and how it ran. But I never knew the story. I never knew anything about the series at all. So watching the show, at first it was very overwhelming because it didn't let you take your time to get to know the characters or what's pretty much going on in the story and where everyone's at. I don't think I realized that the show was taking place in multiple different timelines until about episode 4 or 5 when they were expanding Queen Calanthe. So yeah, it was very interesting to watch, but as the series progressed and as it introduced new characters, like in episode 2, like Yennefer, I really started to enjoy the series, and I really got invested in the plot and Geralt, and especially the Bard, Haskier. He was very entertaining throughout the series, and his comedic relief was very necessary in the show because everything else was very dark and grim, and Geralt, he's very he doesn't like to express his emotions, even though it's kind of proven that he has them because he can create these relationships with other people like Yennefer, and you can tell he wants to do the right thing most of the time, but of course, it does come at a cost with the mutations that he has to become a Witcher, which I find very interesting. With Geralt's whole relationship kind of thing with Renfri, I was kind of confused while watching it. I don't know if it's just me, but I had a difficulty following like what was going on when he was talking to Stregobor, and then it went to Ciri and her whole story arc with her kingdom being invaded by the Nilfgaardians. I just kind of found that first episode very overwhelming personally. I think, but that is absolutely nothing to complain about, because if something's overwhelming because it has so much content and so much story that makes it a confusing piece that'll make the viewer want to watch it again, and then you start to understand more about the story, which overall just makes the story more deeper, and just it has a lot of material to back itself from. And I think that's important, and I think I give the show a lot of credit for not being afraid to not dumb the story down, because the story, I don't feel like it was dumbed down in this season, especially the first episode. It introduced a lot of different dynamics at once, very similar to Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones adapted the material very well in the initial seasons, only until the end where they got past the books, where the show started to plummet in how good it was with all the character arcs. But in this, I really appreciated how much detail they put into it, and how much the story was developed. Story aside, the actors and actresses in this show did a phenomenal job, I think. I haven't had much experience with playing The Witcher 3 or the previous games, as well as reading the books, which I plan on doing. I plan on reading the books, and I'm going through The Witcher 3 right now, and I'm enjoying it a lot. The actors did an amazing job, even though I didn't previously understand the characters and how they were before, but that doesn't matter. Adapting it into a show, they have the freedoms to kind of express themselves through the characters a little more and have a little bit more freedom in kind of evolving the character to fit on screen. Henry Cavill as Geralt, he did an excellent job. with his voice was, he did a very good job portraying the same kind of voice as he did in like The Witcher 3, because that's how I know Geralt so far in other forms of media, which is from the game. It's very cool how he can sound so similar in his mannerisms and just his behavior in general. He did a very good job, and I know he's a fan of this. He's been a fan of the series, and you can see the passion in his performance. Freya Allan as Ciri, I think she's a good fit for the character, for like a younger version of Ciri. Anya Chalotra, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, as Yennefer. Since I wasn't really aware of Yennefer's backstory, being like a hunchback and having deformities, and realizing she's strong in magic, I found her character very compelling, and especially when she got to the point where she transitioned into like a very independent magician, like who's doing jobs on the side, and she seemed kind of like an outlaw, and someone people looked at as dangerous. I found that storyline very, very interesting, and I think from beginning to end, she had the strongest character arc, from being an unconfident and bullied almost student in the magical arts to like a strong, independent magician who's willing to sacrifice her life to defend what she believes in, even though near the middle of the series she does show signs of selfishness and her desire to want everything, as she quoted, which I found it kind of, yeah. But Joey Batty as Haskier, the Bard, I think he did a great job. I never thought that his comedy was too much for the show. I think it was necessary, and I think it really added a great dynamic to Geralt in the series. Tissaia as Yennefer's like teacher, who's portrayed by Miana Buring. I think she did a great job, and I think all the other actors they're phenomenal. I didn't really notice a weak performance. A lot of people are saying that Anna Schafer as Triss isn't a very good fit, and I really don't have a comment on that because I'm not yet aware of who Triss is supposed to be portrayed like in the games and books. I haven't reached the point where I've encountered Triss yet in The Witcher 3, so I don't have a strong opinion on that yet, but I've heard that the actress doesn't seem to be a good portrayal of Triss, but she hasn't had much time yet in the show to shine. But other than that, every other side actor, I think, is very, very good in the show. Going over the negative aspects of the show, since I've watched it only once, and these are kind of my first impressions going through it, as I look at it more and reflect upon what I was watching and the story in general, I feel like I'll be able to find more negatives about it. But for now, I think that the way the show was executed and how it portrayed all the storylines, I found it kind of convoluted, as a conjunction of all these storylines and different timelines. I found it very confusing and overwhelming at first. But other than that, I think every storyline in themselves were very, very strong, and I enjoyed all of the characters within each of these specific storylines and how they all combined near the end. Some parts of the show when Geralt and Ciri are starting to get closer and closer in their storylines, I found it kind of like a cat and mouse scenario where Ciri walks off and Geralt shows up there a minute later, and that was especially near the end of the last episode. I found that kind of comedic almost, but I'm glad they finally encountered each other at the end of the episode. And I thought that was a perfect way to close the season, because the next season is going to offer, I believe, a lot of content with Geralt and Ciri. And I think they're probably going to put Yennefer more to the side for the next season, because her complete character arc, I think, was portrayed very well in the first season. I know there's a lot more for her character to come, but I think showing her beginning, like middle stages of her career, near her character-defining moment when she finally unleashes all of her chaos in the battle, in the final battle, I think that was a very good way to hold her storyline in this season. And I think they're not going to utilize her as much as they did this season, but she will still be prevalent, I know for sure. And I think all of the characters are going to start to work together, and I'm looking forward to it. We're going to get some good action sequences. We're going to get a lot of good stories. I hope to read more of the books and finish at least The Witcher 3 by Season 2, because I know it's not going to release until 2021, so we've definitely got some time to prepare. And I look forward to making more content for you guys. I'm going to definitely go over movies, shows, books, games. In particular, I like to do Star Wars stuff, expand on that kind of stuff, and maybe just some discussions in general. So I'm looking forward to making some new content. If you found this video and you're watching it right now, thank you so much for sticking with me. I know it's been like 11 minutes, so thanks for sticking to the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe as well, because it'll help my channel grow, and I hope to make some more content for the future. Thanks guys. Have a good one.